Last week we drove the hatchback teenager version, the VW Golf. This week we go a little bit more, well, soccer mom. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now what we have behind me is the extended version of what we had last week, specifically the all-new 2017 Volkswagen Alltrack. The station wagon edition is nothing new to Volkswagen. We've had the sports wagon for the last few years, but what the Alltrack does is give a little bit more off-road prowess. And the way they do that is first on the exterior design. Now, they haven't reinvented the profile by any means, but dressed it up just a little bit. Really, when it comes down to the silver appointments, a little bit more flair around the outside. And of course, if you're going to make this a four-wheel drive like option, you've got to go with the lower rubber cladding like you see here, giving it, of course, a little bit more off-road appeal. Now, what they also did is elevate this vehicle just a little bit, elevating it whopping half an inch, but at least it gives you just a little bit more lift to get over those rough places. For the Alltrack, what you got to have is the grip at the four corners. In this version, the 4Motion really gives you that front-wheel drive-like prowess, and we'll kick in the other tires as they need it. Now, what you're going to see when it comes to the wheels is standard 15-inch wheels, but we do have the optional upgraded 17-inch, and you can go all the way up to 18-inch wheels. Now, what I also like, again, if you look at this rubber cladding, is it truly goes all the way around. And what you also notice is a little bit of sensors built in all the way around the vehicle, really allowing you to get in those tight spots. Looking at the overall numbers, the Alltrack measures in pretty much identical to the sports wagon, measuring about 180 inches overall, wheelbase around about 103. Now, those are good numbers for a station wagon and kind of competes with the smaller SUVs and, of course, that whole Subaru lineup. Now, if you look at the other numbers, you're going to notice this vehicle is just under 5 feet tall and just under 6 feet wide. Again, good numbers that, well, help you size down. Now, with that teeny bopper Golf hatchback we had last week, what we see this week, well, is similar front end. Very subdued and, well, not a lot of grille warfare. Now, it all starts with kind of a sloping front end, a little bit of protruding and modest chiseling here and there. What you also notice is the grille, well, is somewhat not pronounced. Very narrow right across the middle, and of course, the VW emblem nice and big. Otherwise, body color all the way around, and again, this is where it separates it out from the sports wagon with a little bit of different appointments here and there. Lastly is that added sensors right across the front here and the back, really allowing you to dive in tight in those spaces and, well, minimize scrapes and dings. Now, the Alltrack definitely attracts a more tall, handsome, sleek kind of driver, obviously going to be a little bit more mature than that Golf hatchback we had last week. And with that should come a little bit of ease of ingress. Well, that's not the case. On the Golf we had last week, that had the good old smart key system. This particular model, well, the good old school, and I guess that's kind of a tie-in, old school key. What does that mean? Pretty much you're going to have to use the key all the time. There's no sensors here, but instead some type of button you press and it unlocks everything. Of course, nothing really to complain about. Now, what I do like is the security comes right down to the fill-up area, really in the form of when the vehicle's locked, this is locked. When it's unlocked, this pops right open. What you're also going to notice is a little bit old school when it comes to the cap versus the good old capless system I wish we'd all go to. Swinging around to the business end of the station wagon, this is where this vehicle truly shines, delivering that cargo to boot with enough room for 5 people. And this is where this vehicle truly competes with the likes of smaller SUVs and, of course, other wagons, and it easily surpasses any sedans. Now, what you're going to see back here first is a plain Jane type of styling, almost mimics the Golf hatchback we had last week. Simple spoiler, huge rear glass, and body color all the way around. A little bit of lower fascia coming around back just to finish off the details and those backup sensors. But what we really want to see is the cargo space, and it all starts right here. Once you pop this open, you're going to see decent area around about 30 cubic feet. That is going to more than double once you lay the second row down. One thing I loved about the hatchback Golf, again, that young, spirited, teenager-like feel was, well, it was just so get up and go. Now, when you add a little bit more girth and length and, well, old schoolism, could it deliver the same? Well, not so much. Now, what you're going to notice on the hood is a similarity to what we tested on the hatchback, specifically a 1.8 liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder. That's going to deliver around about 170 horses and 199 foot-pounds of torque. What it didn't deliver is that boot scooting boogie we noticed on the hatchback. But again, this is a little bit more old school thinking, so it delivered the kids and the groceries just fine. With any station wagon, one thing you're definitely going to have is the backseat driver. So first thing to note, well, is the overall comfort, really coming down to the legroom numbers. And what you're going to find is, well, it's not too bad. Even though on paper it says about 35 inches, typically the scraping point for any knees, well, I found it to be quite nice. What you're also going to find is, well, straightforward bench styling back here, a modest hump in the middle, and, well, decent elbow support right here. Even better, 2 cup holders. One thing you definitely have to note, without having the smart key system, you're definitely going to have the key in your hand to unlock this vehicle and climb inside. Another thing to note, when you don't have the smart key, you definitely have to have this out, because once you get inside, you can't fiddle for your keys. You're going to need them in your hand. Pretty much put in this old school device here and crank it up. On the dash, you're going to find a modest offering when it comes to the touchscreen system, something we noticed similarly on the other Golf models. Now, what I like is the shortcut buttons on the side, and I didn't notice one for navigation. Of course, that is an option. What I truly like is on the entertainment system, all the presets are real easy to navigate with about 15 presets you can load in there. There's a button right beside the gear shifter allowing you to change your driving mode. Simply press it and it corresponds there on the screen, basically giving you the normal, sport, custom, or off-road. Now, we didn't really change this up that much, even though we did have a little bit of rain during the week. We just didn't need it, but they are there when you want to switch things up a bit. On that hatchback Golf model, one thing we noticed is a little bit more upgrades than this particular model, and even right down to the climate controls. This particular version only having single climate control up front versus the dual modes we noticed previously on the other vehicle. What we also had, though, was nice heated seats. But what I do like here is the symmetry all the way across for the temperature, the fan speed, and the mode select. The ignition key is not the only old school item on this vehicle. Instead, you're going to find some throwback Thursdays when it comes to the gauges, specifically with the analog tach and speedometer. But what I truly like is that digital readout in between that gives you at least the digital speed. Now, judging for this cold edition of Road Warrior and a test drive behind the wheel, the 2017 Volkswagen Alltrack. Again, a little bit different than the sports wagon that's been out for a few years, and a lot different than the hatchback Golf we tested just a week ago. What we like, of course, is you can put all the groceries in the back. It's a more mature and sophisticated matching to myself versus the Golf, which is a little bit, well, just too young. This one fits quite nicely, but we do sport it up with that nice red exterior. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.